InnerQuest explores various pathways through which you can connect with the infinite wisdom of the universe and apply it to personal, professional, and spiritual growth. This program, featuring accomplished practitioners, educators, and authors, is provided by Infinity Foundation, an innovative center for holistic studies and research. We invite you to share this journey with us.
My name is Jay Stone, your host for today, and our guest is the Reverend Carol Saunders. Welcome, Reverend Saunders.
Hi, Jay. It's nice to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you. Is it okay, Reverend Saunders, if I call you by your first name, Carol?
Please do.
Okay. Carol is an ordained interfaith minister and a licensed Unity spiritual leader. She is a founder of Abundant Life Spiritual Center. Carol leads a weekly dynamic Sunday service at Deerfield's Patty Turner Center and teaches a variety of spiritual and personal developmental classes throughout the year. Now, this is a question I usually wait for the end, but I'll ask it up front. Tell us your purpose in life or your inner quest.
Oh, it's something I have to revisit every single day. At the end of the day, did I live my purpose? What I'm really here to do is to really release the authentic expression within, the divine within, and then hopefully inspire others to do the same. That's really what the whole spiritual center is all about. It's what my life is about, and it's really that gift that's within, that we keep hidden.
Now, is this more of a recent path, or do you felt like you were trying to do this ever since you were a young child?
I feel as a young child I was very aware spiritually. I was very different from everybody else in my family. I was always searching for what's the meaning of life. What is God? What is all this about? I've always been on that quest. That doesn't mean that I didn't have many years that I was really kind of not focusing on it. I think probably in my 20s I was more focused in my career, and my 30s more my family. So it's really been kind of a coming home.
Okay. And what is the Abundant Life Spiritual Center about?
Well, we're just 3 years old. We're a brand new center, and we're associated with Unity. And we started in September of 2010. We hold a really fun and great Sunday service. Mm-hmm. We have a wonderful experience for people. They really can have a prayerful and meditative experience, as well as a really great relevant message. We use technology, we have PowerPoint, we have great music, and people come away with just a relevant message, something they can apply to their life daily right then.
Now, did you choose the name Abundant Life?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think it was really spirit-led, because most Unity centers are unity of, and we revisit Abundant Life a lot. Is this really our name? But people are attracted to it because it is what we stand for. We're really here to live the abundant life of all health and wholeness and good relationships and fulfilling work. And so we really keep that name because it's really what we're about. We really want to see people unleashing that authentic expression within and living abundantly.
Well, I learned the term cornucopia.
Uh-huh.
We live in a world of abundance. And when I learned about cornucopia, I also learned that there's abundance for everybody, and that if you get your abundance doesn't mean there's less for other people. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. It multiplies. And really, we're part of this flow, this divine flow. So as we receive and we give and we receive and we give, as we give more, we're more open to receiving more. And there's just more and more for all of us. It's really just a matter of being awake to what's there in front of you.
So why don't you tell our audience, what you go through during a typical Sunday service?
Okay. It has changed.
Yeah.
It used to be me setting everything up, and it's not anymore. We have a music director. We've had fantastic music. Our music director is a wonderful keyboard player, and we have great musicians. I have a sound guy who sets up our sound now. We have volunteers who come and get everything ready in the morning, put all of our information out, and we pray in, hopefully around 10:10. We have everything on PowerPoint on a screen, and so around 10:30 we just get going and we start singing. We have a morning song, and we have an opening prayer, an opening reading.
And this morning song, what are some of the songs?
Yeah, we don't do hymns.
Yeah.
We don't do those old hymns. We don't do those old hymns. We do very chanty songs. When we have people, when our congregation sings or our community sings, they're very chanty songs. You know, I'm thankful, I'm grateful, I trust in God. Those kind, you know, just I'm one in the Spirit.
Well, when everybody's singing,
Yeah.
there is a unity there because
There
everybody's
is.
there saying the same words, thinking the same thoughts,
Yeah, and
creating a synergy.
The songs are set up so much that people, you can't help but the rest of the week you're singing them. So we've adapted a couple Beatles songs. We do Good Day Sunshine and Got to Get God Into Your Life and whatnot. So you really can't.
So your musical director did that?
We do it together. We do
Yeah.
it together. We like to have very relevant music, and so we had a whole month of Beatles in November, where I did lessons about Beatles songs and the spiritual messages within, and we had great Beatles music.
Well, one of our camera operators is a big Beatles fan. You
Okay.
might have a new parishioner.
Oh yeah, it was fun. I want to do it every year. It was so much fun.
Now, so what else? Do you have like a regular sermon? Do people get up like and read the daily word?
Yeah, we have a daily word reading, and then we have an opening prayer. The opening prayer is really just open up your hearts for what there is coming. And then there's the band kind of does another little song, and then I have a lesson. Sometimes you can call it a sermon, you call it a lesson or a message. And I do it on PowerPoint, and it's very, very practical. So it could be anything from, in January and February, I did a series on your journey to new beginnings. So we took the whole Bible story of Moses and the Exodus, and we really said, this is your journey. This is about leaving your enslaved condition or your former condition and going to your own promised land. And in between, there's this wilderness where you really have to transform who you are before you're ready to accept a new beginning.
Now, I was friends with a Unity minister who's since passed on, Mike Matoyne.
Yes.
And Mike was very fond of saying, you teach what you have to learn.
Yes. Yeah.
And I really feel like that is your message as well. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that it comes as an inspiration. So an idea for a lesson or a lesson series comes as an inspiration. Sometimes I don't even know what it's about. Like I did a series on The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. What was that about? You know, did I know that was for me? But there's always something in it for me. And there's always people in our community that said, oh, you spoke just to me. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. And it's kind of a spirit thing. I don't know how it all works.
Well, and I hope it's okay, but before the show we talked, and you know, I did my research and the questions and looked at your bio, and I was pleasantly surprised to learn that you had like a whole nother life before you got involved in Unity.
Yeah.
Both you and your husband are engineers, graduates of Purdue University, and you're mother of 4 children, is it? Three children.
Yeah.
And so how do you think, you know, and you worked as an engineer for 20 years. How do you think, you know, your career, your engineering education, your family prepares you to be a Unity spiritual leader?
Well, you know, everything prepares you for where you are now.
Well put.
And my engineering degree, it's interesting because I do have a scientific mind. And I do like to bring science in when I can because it's all the same thing. You know, there's supposedly this argument between science and religion, and it really isn't. I think they're all pointing at the same thing and just calling it something different. So my problem-solving abilities is part of, I still apply my interest in quantum theory and all of that, the origin of the universe. That all comes from scientific background.
Dr. Fred Allen Wolf?
I have not. No.
Oh, he's a physicist. Was a physics professor at university and written many best-selling books.
I'll have to put in my library.
Yeah, Larry Dawsey.
I've
had good fortune of interviewing for this show a couple times.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, my family contributes hugely. Now, the night before we opened our center, September 26, 2010, all my girls were there helping me put everything together. And our very first band, they helped me pick music a lot too, so a lot of our music choices.
Do you attract younger people?
We're starting to. We really, it's a target for us. And our vision is to have everybody, men, women, any sexual orientation, families.
Well, that's what unity is.
Yeah, we want it all. We want
it's
it all.
inclusion, not exclusion.
Right, we want it all. And we do focus on a younger generation with our music. We have some, we play some oldies. We'll play some, I don't know, Doobie Brothers or whatever. We've done the Beatles. We've done, I'm trying to think of some older ones we've done. But then we also do Coldplay and Philip Phillips and some of these things that are a little bit newer that some of the younger generation would
And
like.
how was it that you and your husband ended up in the Chicago area?
Well, it was his work, yeah. He had worked for NASA for many years, and when we were in Florida...
What did he do for NASA?
Well, I told you this.
You don't want to say.
I told you. He's a former astronaut, yeah.
Okay.
He flew 4 times on a space shuttle, yeah. Discovery, Endeavour, Atlantis, and Discovery.
And were you ever worried, given what had happened on those previous...
Yeah, because his missions were in between Challenger and Columbia, those two disasters. So was I worried? Being a unity person, you know that we have a positive outlook, and we know that all is going to work out for the divine good. So I'm not really a hand-wringer. I didn't really focus on what could go wrong. I had a little bit of nerves in his last mission. I think it's because I had a baby in my arms.
Yeah.
I had a baby. I had 2 older girls and a baby in my arms, and I was a little worried about that last one. I always wonder if there wasn't something a little bit off on the last one that we didn't know, but we're really grateful he came home safely.
And when you were an engineer, were you a mother at the same time?
Yes. I had all my children while I was working. And unlike most of my peers at the time, many of them who had their children, they quit, and then they came back when their kids got older. Mm-hmm. I did just the opposite. I stayed working with my babies, and when my oldest one was in junior high, when I wanted mom to be there when the junior high kid came home with all those problems, especially with girls, that's when I left my career.
Good. And do you ever pray together as a family?
That's a really good question. It's interestingly, I wasn't raised with prayer myself in my own family. It was so foreign to me, and Unity really taught me about prayer. Mm-hmm. And so, as a family, we're not really together that much as a family. And I wouldn't say that we actually formally pray, but we sure use all of the principles and affirmations, and I do a lot of spiritual counseling with them. Mm-hmm. And that's not exactly true. Before a job interview, before anything that's really scary to any of my kids, they might call and say, "Okay, Mom, tell me that divine intelligence is flowing through me now." I say, "Divine intelligence is flowing through you now." So.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. And so, what do you think is drawing people to your center?
That's a really good question.
I can answer that for you if you want.
Well, I'd love to hear your answer.
I just think you attract people through your positive energy, your upbeat personality. I think you're, as that minister Mike Matoy taught me, he says you can talk to talk, but you got to walk the walk.
You got to walk the walk.
And I think you walked the walk your entire life, and just want to help other people do it.
That's really right. I've been thinking a lot about that. I've really had a good life. Now, I think we've all had good lives. Some have been, more struggle than others. But I really look at this whole spiritual center as a gift. This is like a way to give to the world, to the universe, to people.
And this might be the most challenging thing you've ever done.
It is the most challenging thing.
Yeah.
I thought working in refinery was with a bunch of men who weren't really happy with my being there, but this is really challenging. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you put yourself out there trying to help people, you attract people who are struggling and in need of great assistance.
Mm-hmm. And I always say, Jesus had 2 ways of healing. One was the woman who who touched the hem of his garment, and just his very energy just healed. And the other was, pick up your mat and walk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he saw what needed to be done. And I think it's so interesting. He didn't really hold hands and say, oh, I feel so bad for you. You know, he saw what they were capable of, and just called it as it was, pick up your mat and walk.
Well, it's interesting because like in the medical field now, when it used to be when somebody after surgery, they'd make them bed rest for 2-3 days. Now they try and get up and start moving as quick as possible. And do you have a vision or long-term plans for the Abundant Life Spiritual Center?
The whole thing is a spirit-driven endeavor. I mean, I don't think anybody starts a spiritual center just for fun. It's kind of something that's, a vision was very clearly given to me. I mean, I really saw it. So our vision is to really grow and to attract as many people. We really think that there's a lot of people out there in the cracks that are wanting the spiritual life, and what we offer is a community. So there's classes and all sorts of ways to get on the spiritual path and to support you. And you can pray at home, meditate at home. But we really offer a community that's growing. And we have small groups, spiritual life groups, where people are really cared for and that they can grow and deepen their spiritual life. So we envision those growing. We envision being a large center that really impacts lots and lots of lives and attracting lots of families. And
have you ever thought about writing a book?
I have thought about writing a book.
Yeah, I think you'd be a tremendous
Yeah.
motivational speaker and motivational writer.
Yeah, I've thought about writing a book. I've got to kind of get to another place in the birth of this center, so that there's time for that.
Okay. And you teach a class on radical forgiveness.
Yeah.
And can you explain to our audience what radical forgiveness is? And
Yeah, I taught that at Infinity Foundation.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to teach it again in the fall. I'm going to teach it around Thanksgiving, because that's a good time to radically forgive, don't you think?
Yeah.
Before the families get together. Yeah, radical forgiveness is actually a methodology that was developed by a man named Colin Tipping, and he wrote a book in 1997 by the same name. I was exposed to him at my Unity Center in 1999, and I've done lesson series on his teachings or his book, and I also teach this class. So radical forgiveness is different from regular forgiveness, because regular forgiveness is kind of like, I've been wronged, something's happened to me, and I am going to, out of the goodness of my heart, I'm going to forgive you, and I'm going to bestow forgiveness upon you. But I'm still holding this, that something bad happened to me. Mm-hmm. Radical forgiveness completely transforms the victim archetype. So you really get to this place where you don't even feel like you were wronged. I wasn't wronged. I'm grateful for this experience. This experience uncovered something about me that I needed to grow, and all is well.
Well, radical forgiveness reminds me of a Russian proverb: a hammer shatters glass, but forges steel. So whatever wrong happened could shatter a person like glass or forge into steel if there's radical forgiveness.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I would also think, maybe you can talk about it, that radical forgiveness creates unity.
Of course, because we're all in this together. And one of the frameworks behind radical forgiveness is being open to the belief, or being willing to consider that, you know, we all came in here with some kind of a soul agreement, and the relationships that we have are really designed to grow us. So these irritating things that come up in our lives, these whatever we reel against, we can reel against them and suffer, or we can sit there and find what the lesson is in them.
Now, how long is this radical forgiveness class? Is it 1 day, 3 hours?
Yeah, I can do it in a lot of different ways. In Infinity, I just did it for 2 hours, but in the fall, that wasn't enough time. So we're going to do it for two 2-hour sessions. I introduced the concept, and I introduced it all, and it's been fairly condensed, even that. And then the next week, we're going to go doing more of the worksheets and the applying, and they're really working through the forgiveness. Now, Colin Tipping does it longer, yeah.
And so there's actual techniques to it?
Yes, there's actual techniques.
Like writing a letter, drawing pictures.
Yeah, it's an actual 2-page worksheet. I know you're familiar with Byron Katie's work, the 4 questions. This is more like 20 questions that you go through, And it's really looking at your story, similar to the work, and all of the drama behind it, and what have I made up about it, what have I interpreted it. And
Well, let's say somebody lost their entire life savings to Bernie Madoff, and that Ponzi scam, or somebody lost a parent to a drunk driver. I mean,
it's tough to work through those. You
Yeah.
can, though.
Yeah.
In Colin Tipping's book, there's an example. There's this woman who, she was a singer, and she didn't sell her commercial song, to somebody who was wanting it for an advertisement. She sold it really low, and it turned out that this guy made a ton of money from her jingle. And she never made any money off it. And for 15 years, she was so resentful. But through radical forgiveness and through this whole process, she was able to see that what was underneath this is some belief that she wasn't worth anything. So therefore, she had sold herself too low. And in the moment that she realized that, this is what's so interesting, it was just that kind of opening up of the soul, where the universe then is willing to pour into her. When she realized that that was what it was about, and that she was grateful for the experience, and she saw that about herself, that's when she got the phone call from the same man saying, I want to do this again, and I want to use you again. And she said, well, this time I'm going to negotiate a higher, a higher rate. So it's really just about getting to that point. And it's not like it may work out with that person, but that the universe then will open something else up for you when you open up.
Now, do you have some personal examples of radical forgiveness, let's say from people who attended your classes or from your church?
I use it all the time. I use it all the time. It takes a while to figure out that you're being victimized. It takes a while to figure out that you're coming from this place of something's happened to me. Because we're just so used to that. We live in this world where something always happens to me. So when I start to notice it is when I start talking to people. You wouldn't believe what this guy did. And then once you realize you're talking to somebody saying, yeah, you wouldn't believe what this guy did, then it's really great to have a spiritual community around you to go, do you know what you're doing? You're being a victim. Oh, okay. And this is one of the reasons I think spiritual community is so important, because we need other people to hold that mirror up.
Well, what about like collectively forgiving? I'm Jewish,
Yes.
and I still feel hatred towards Adolf Hitler and to Nazis.
It gets a lot bigger and harder. It gets a lot bigger and harder to look at something like that and go, the collective consciousness is healing something through that, awful, huge.
Well, I wonder if like a bunch of Jewish people who've lost family members in the Holocaust got together and forgive. I mean, even to say that to some people would be very offensive.
There would be a huge shift in consciousness, though, don't you think?
I think there would be, and I, now that we're talking, I was thinking, wow, this is something that I could probably need, and some of my fellow Jews probably need.
Whenever we're being victimized, we're really just binding ourselves, So if we could free ourselves, then we open ourselves up to receiving so much more. We can really shift the consciousness of all of the rest of the world too.
Are there any other experiences you want to talk about with Infinity Foundation?
Well, I'm looking forward to teaching again. I love teaching for Infinity. I thought it was great. I thought the people that showed up were great. I thought it was just really professionally handled.
Well, what I love, here you have unity and infinity. It's like oneness and infinity, and it's really describing the same thing.
Right.
Right.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, God is often described as, being one or infinite.
When that's what we teach, people have different ideas. Some people don't even like the word God. It's just so offensive to them, or something happened in their past. And so you just have to kind of come to a place where, what are we talking about? God is love. God is the allness. God is the oneness. God is the creative energy underneath everything.
Well, that leads me to the next question. Where and how do you get your energy and inspiration?
Well, I'm inspired by transformation. I'll say that. I'll say one of the things that we really have accomplished at our spiritual center is we've experienced some real transformation. To see people whose lives change dramatically, I mean, in a practical sense. It's not like everybody does. Some people come and they just get the joy of the service or a class or get what they want, and they come and they go and they stay on the periphery. Others really get into the center and into the core of our teachings and really apply it. I leave everybody with stuff to do on Sundays. I don't just end with a crescendo and yay, everybody. I was like, here's your to-do list. Here's what we're going to do this week. And I never check back, really. But those who do it really transform. And so when you see somebody who was confused and lost and recently unpartnered and looking for a job and financially straddled, and then 3 years later they have a new partner and they not only have a better job, they've got lots of job offers and they've got more money coming to them and more love, and they're expanding. That's really exciting to see transformation.
And do you have classes during the week? Do you have a midweek service?
Yeah, we have classes. We're still not quite large enough to have classes every week, but we try to have a class every month. And we have sacred services. We do sacred services sometimes. We have done
what
a sacred service.
Yeah.
Okay, like a World Day of Prayer service. Around Easter, we have a communion service with a burning bowl. So it's really more of a forgiveness and a release and a burning bowl service. We used to have interfaith services. I used to hold monthly interfaith services, and they were really, really interesting around a spiritual theme like love or forgiveness or gratitude.
When you interfaith, so you'd bring in the beliefs of like Christianity.
Around a theme. So around a theme, let's just say we take a theme of gratitude. We would have a Buddhist reading on gratitude, a Hindu reading on gratitude, a Islam reading on gratitude, Christian reading, and then we might do something like Shinto, or we might do something like Baha'i.
And again, it's all unity.
It's all unity.
all saying the same thing.
So we'd have a reading, and then like some music, very contemplative music, and then just contemplative time, reflective time. People love those services. I want to do it again. I just need to market it out there more so that we can really make it worth our while.
And what about quiet time, meditation? Do you incorporate that in your services?
Yes, we do. We do. And of course, I have my own prayer and meditation work I have to do every day as well. So we have a prayer in the service, and we also have a meditation. We have a meditation after my message. Sometimes they do it before. You can have a meditation before where you just open the heart so you can open yourself to listening. We tend to use the meditation as an opportunity to ground the lesson, the elements of the lesson, and to ground it, through meditation.
Now, the clergy I've known, they get calls in the middle of the night, accidents, deaths, overdoses, etc. Do you get calls like that? And
I don't get that many in the middle of the night. I've not had them in the middle of the night yet. But I am essentially on call, but I'm trying to design a different kind of center, though. See, it's not about me. It looks like it's about me, but we're trying to design this so ministry happens everywhere, and so we're really training leaders so that leaders can lead groups and be that person for their group. So if somebody has an emergency, if somebody has a joy in their life, if somebody needs some support, that they go to their leader and their group, and they're supported that way. Those are the people we really want to be in response, because it's just more intimate, and it allows our center to grow, and allows people to be cared for, and not all going to one person. We can all pray.
Right, and the more people that carry the message, the more the message gets out there.
Yes.
We only have about 30, 45 seconds. Is there anything you'd like to say about yourself, your center, your classes?
Well, I'll say we're spirit-led. We're here really to release and unleash that divine within. And we're here to support people's spiritual lives. And we're here to really support the whole journey.
All right, got to wrap it up. For more information about Reverend Carol Saunders, Infinity Foundation, or Quest Show, stay tuned to the credits at the end. Till next time, wish you good health, good fortune, and good spirits. Thank you, Reverend Carol.
Thank you, Jay. We did it.
Yes.
For more information about this show, our guests, Infinity Foundation, or any of our other programs, please visit our website, infinityfoundation.org, or call us at 847-831-8828.